The scapegoating essay for the Crucible. In this video, we're going to cover the construction of an essay, the elements of the introduction, body, and conclusion. Your introduction is a roadmap for your reader. They follow it. You can tell them where the paper is starting and where it's going. You're going to need an attention grabber, something that gets your reader's attention is a question or a description of a scene. A thesis statement, one sentence, tells what the entire paper is about or the purpose of the paper. And the introduction is a paper overview for the reader. In this particular example, you're going to want to include Puritanism, the Salem witch trials, and the comparison of the Salem witch trials with a current example of scapegoating. The body of your paper should be considered the meat and potatoes. Here's where you fill your reader up. You're going to give the reader as much information and detail on the topics that you think are important to be in the body of your paper. Don't expect your reader to know things that you haven't explained or elaborated on. For the purposes of this paper, one part of the body of your essay is going to be Puritanism. At the very minimum of this part of the paper, you should define Puritanism and explain its significance as it relates to the culture that Puritanism created in Salem in 1692. Another part of your essay, or an element of the body, is going to be the Salem witch trials. You need to give a summary of the key elements, as well as characters and events that played a role in the scapegoating of the women that were hanged for practicing witchcraft. What were they being blamed for? What were they cleansing this community of? And finally, the last element of the body of this paper will be a current or recent example of scapegoating. For this part of your paper, you're going to also need to give a summary and the key elements for the example that you've chosen. Characters and events that played a role in this example that you have researched and how they compared to the Salem witch trials of 1692. An important thing to remember here is after you describe and give the details of this current example, it's important that you give a comparison to the scapegoating that occurred in Salem. Your conclusion is where you wrap your paper up. Give a final thought, an overall impression of the paper. How does it leave you feeling? And make sure that you include the message that you want your reader to have after they're done reading your paper. As with any good essay, you're going to need to revise and edit. Some questions you need to ask yourself are, do you need to change the wording or the order of things in your paper? Sometimes you can give the same use the same words, but the order that you present them in or that you decide to present the body of your paper will have a big impact on how the reader takes it or understands your paper. Should you add more detail to any parts of these paragraphs or elements of the body? And do each part of your paper have the required elements that were outlined or given in a rubric or mentioned in the assignment or the prompt? And finally, is your essay grammatically correct? Please take the time to check your spelling, punctuation, make sure you have verb and subject agreement and consistency throughout the paper. Hope this video was helpful for you.